I had a request to work through a problem on yesterday's Circles Missing Measures practice assignment where you are given a radius or you're given a circumference or you're given an area and you're trying to find a missing measure. So you're trying to find either maybe you're given the area and you're trying to find the diameter, maybe you're given the radius and you need to find the circumference. There's something missing. So let's go ahead and work number 2 on yesterday's Circles Missing Measures Google slide assignment and work through this problem and see how you complete this. Okay, so number 2 wants us to find the area and the radius. So find the area and radius. Okay. And we have our little circle here. And we have our diameter and a radius. And under each circle, it's giving you some sort of measurement. For this one, it gives you the circumference. And the circumference is 148 hundredths feet. Okay, so we know that the circumference of this circle is 148 feet, but we need to find the radius and the area. So let's go back to what the formula is for the circumference of a circle. Well, we know that the circumference equals 2 pi r. And for this assignment, we're going to have pi equal 3.14, so 3 and 1400ths. We don't need to go any further out than that. That is the standard measurement that most people use when we're calculating pi. Okay, let's go into our formula now and fill in the information that we know. So we know that the circumference is 148 hundredths. So let's go ahead and pop that in. We have 148 equals, we can bring down the 2 and the pi. Those are numbers that are already set in the formula, so we can go ahead and bring those down. 2 pi, and the r is what we don't know. It did not give us the radius, so let's go ahead and set the radius with an r. All right, so now we have a number, and pi is a number. It's 3.14. So we have all numbers here and one variable. So it's turned into an algebraic equation. We're going to solve for r. So let's go ahead and start doing that. Upside down t. Now, you can go ahead and divide each side by pi. That's perfectly fine if you want to do that. I like to leave pi last just because, you know, it's a number that repeats a lot. It doesn't repeat. It has a lot of numbers. I know we're only doing 3.14, but your number can get pretty big. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of keep it as simple as possible right now. And I'm going to divide each side by 2. I'm going to do the inverse operation. These are all multiplication here. So I'm going to do the inverse operation, division, to get rid of my 2. That way I'm just left with my pi r. So I'm going to divide this side by 2. To keep it equivalent, I have to do it on both sides. Okay, 2 over 2 is 1, so I can cancel that out. 100.48 or 148 hundredths divided by 2 is going to give us, let's see, 50.24, 50 and 24 hundredths. Okay, and then on the other side here, we're just left with the pi and the r. Now, we still have a variable that's attached to another number. You can think of this as your coefficient and your variable because this is the same, again, as saying 3.14 times the radius. So let's go ahead and do another upside down t and isolate our variable some more with the inverse operation. We're going to divide each side by pi. Pi over pi is 1, so those cancel out. Now we're just left with r. And now I'm going to go ahead and calculate 50.24 divided by pi. So I'm going to have 50.24 divided by, again, for pi, we're going to use 3 and 14 hundredths. And we're going to get 16. So our radius for this circle right here is going to be 16 feet. But it didn't want to know just the radius. It also wanted to know the area. So let's go ahead and plug in the formula for area of a circle. So area equals pi r squared. And now, since I know the radius is 16, I can start plugging that into this formula. So now we have A equals pi times 16 squared. And let's just solve that out. We're gonna have pi 16 squared. Get our little calculator out. If we had 16 squared, that's gonna give us 256. So now we have pi times 256. Just gonna multiply that by 3.14. And we're gonna get 803 and 84 hundredths. So the area is 803 and 84 hundredths. Don't forget your units that we're using for this problem. It's feet, and area is squared. So don't forget to put squared, okay? So for number 2, we were given the circumference of 148 hundredths feet. We plugged in the formula for circumference of a circle to figure out what our radius was. Once we find our radius, we can plug it into the area, the formula for the area of a circle, and we found out that the area is 803 and 84 feet squared, and our radius was 16. One quick note that I forgot to mention, I want to talk about why I chose to solve radius before I chose to solve the area. Because it wants us to find the area and the radius, but I automatically went to solve the radius without telling you why I chose to solve that first. So it goes back to our formulas. The area of a circle is pi r squared, and the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. If I was to start with trying to find the area, I have two variables that I have an unknown value for. That becomes a little trickier in figuring out how to solve. So I like to start with ones where there's only one unknown value that I need to solve. So in this case, since I don't know the area, it wasn't given to me. I don't know the radius, it wasn't given to me. But when I go down to the circumference, I have the circumference, I have the 2, I have the pi, I just need the radius. It made more sense for me to do the one that had one variable to solve for, okay? Because if I was to solve for this right here, you could technically still solve it, but you're going to get a coefficient and a variable. You're going to not get a variable by itself. So that's why I chose to start with solving for the radius rather than solving for the area.